What's good, everybody? It's your boy DP. We got the Listen to DP podcast. We got a special guest today. I got my boy Felix Nebo. He's an NFL agent. He's a lawyer. So we're talking about the DK Metcalf situation. Oh boy, trying to get him, Shannon Sharp, Ocho Cinco, I think Ford Field where the Lions play at. He's doing this big lawsuit for $100 million on defamation, but he's also doing it on assault and battery on DK Metcalf. So I wanted to bring in somebody that knows a little more than me, obviously not only from the NFL agent point of view, but from the lawyer point of view. So before we start, for y'all don't know, I'm going to pull this up real quick right there. And as y'all see, you know what I mean, the $100 million lawsuit, the guy's been a season ticket holder for a while. He's the CEO of a mortgage company. And he was saying that DK was saying he said the N-word. And he's like, I never said that. I only called him by his government name. Apparently, this guy had a run-in last year with DK as well. But he's like, he didn't use any hate language, no racial slurs, 15-year season ticket holder. So he's mad that DK didn't apologize. If we go back, let's see this. Obviously, that's no good. We have another angle from there. And then
it is really hard to.
So we'll check that out right here. So we'll take that off the screen. So that's a lot going on, right? The lawsuits, DK reaching up into the stands, the dude doing a press conference with his attorneys asking DK to apologize and retract. That basically it was messing up his business because he's like, you're making me look racist out here. You're making me lose business and, you know, all that good stuff. So we'll start with you, the first part of it. What do you think the chances are on the defamation for not only DK, but then Shannon Sharp doing something similar to what I'm doing, right? Him and Ocho talking about it. Like, does he have a good case on that?
And, you know, as far as the defamation with DK, and again, me personally, you know, just my opinion, I don't see how he would have, you know, too much to stand on. You know, it's anybody filing a lawsuit, of course, you got the burden of proving that the allegations contained and, you know, were defamatory in that sense. And so I don't really see much of the defamation really going to a court and going to a trial and all of that. Seems to me to kind of, you know, try to reach some kind of settlement, you know, especially looking at the list of people that they named in the lawsuit. You know, the more people that you name in the lawsuit, normally the more pockets that you can kind of get into. And so just from the little that I do know about defamation, I don't really see it progressing and, you know, bearing too much, you know, like that, you know, in that sense.
Got you. So what about kind of like the Shannon Sharp stuff? Because obviously I'm doing this like Shannon and Ocho and a lot of streamers, podcasters, people that react. Like, how sticky is that situation if you're to come on here and like you didn't even say that the dude said it, but you're reporting that, hey, DK said that he said, like,
yeah,
are you pretty safe on, like, is it pretty hard to get somebody on that?
It's
I
tough.
like my money, Nebo.
Yeah, nah, man, I hear you. And it's tough, man. It's tough. That's what I'm saying with the Shannon Sharp, you know, Chad Ochocinco. I think it's called Nightcap or whatever they be doing. Yeah. I think it's pretty tough to prove that kind of allegation to, you know, media outlets and podcasters, just because, you know, you always have to think like having a podcast is a safe place for people to give opinions and talk about different topics. And so I think more so, as long as podcasters are really just sticking to things that are like opinion based, then it's hard to prove any kind of defamation, because with defamation, the number one thing it has to be like a factual assertion. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So if you're in here talking about this and that or giving opinions and stuff like that, I find it hard to really have a leg to stand on, because a lot of stuff that podcasters talk about is opinion based. You know what I'm saying? So as long as it's opinion based and you're staying away from, you know, just factual assertion that you just know are blatantly not true, then I don't really see how it can affect, you know, because you have to think, you want to protect media and all that from being able to voice and talk about things like that. So when I first seen it, I was like, look, I don't think it has any leg to stand on, but, you know, I'm not a judge, but I don't really, you know, I don't think y'all got anything to worry about, to be honest.
Yeah. What about the assault and battery part? Because he did grab. Does he have a pretty good case with it? It's on video. The guy just talking to him. He didn't do anything physically to DK other than saying he claims he said his name, and now you see DK grabbing and maybe not a punch, but a grab like in a push. Like, do you think there's some change coming out of that pocket for that at least?
For sure. I mean, if you have a much better shot of going after somebody for some contact-based allegation, assault, whatever the case may be, especially because you got video footage of it and all that. But that would be a more realistic kind of outcome if just outside looking in, than to go for defamation, because defamation, it's certain elements that you got to establish to prove defamation, and I personally don't think that he'll be able to satisfy all of them. And so I think the assault has a little bit more leg to stand on because you actually see stuff on the video. You know what I'm saying?
100%. So we'll kind of flip from the lawyer part to the NFL agent / maybe lawyer still advice. So say DK is your guy. He's going through this, right? Like, how would you think you would tell him? Like, are you going to come out, hey, I didn't say this, or da-da-da-da, this is what he said to me, and stand on it again, or just kind of sit back and be like, hey, let's let this play out and let's do some stuff, behind the scenes? Or do you say, hey, go say your piece, like he said his piece to defend yourself?
Yeah. So, I'm not, quote unquote, I don't want to give out legal advice.
100%.
But what I mean for a situation like that, it's just kind of simple of mine. Like, look, if you heard it and it actually happened, then stand on that. Like, if it's true, then it's true, because that's the biggest offense to something, defamation, any kind of case. Is like, if it's actually true and it actually happened, then it can't be defamatory or anything like that. So if it's true, then stand on that. But if it's not, or you thought you heard something, then it needs to more so be thought I heard, or opinion based. You know what I'm saying? So cause I think that kind of gets you from having to worry about that. As long as if it is true and actually happened, then stand on it, because it's up to him to prove that it's not a true statement, unless he's going to come in there with a bunch of witnesses saying I heard this, and no, he didn't say it, I was standing right next to him, he didn't say this or didn't say this. But he's at a game and people yelling and stuff like that. So but if always tell the truth. That's the easiest way to get around it. And if it did happen, just stand on it. And if it did happen, so just being truthful, and then just kind of staying opinion based whenever you're giving any kind of statement, kind of gets you away from that defamation stuff in my eyes.
No, 100%. I think because people were asking me, like, when I reported on it, it's like, oh, it's a money grab. And I definitely think when you go $100 million, like even though you're a CEO and you got a mortgage company, I don't think they in this fast cost you $100 million, right? In your name and all that. But I think there's a money grab element to it. And but I told everybody there's going to be money from DK, regardless if it's on the defamation or that assault side, because that's going to be the bigger side. I was like, I don't think much comes from the defamation for DK, Ocho, or Shannon and all that. I think the money will be two different spots. Will be DK, one, just for the assault battery case, and just be like, hey, you know what? Let's get us past this here, whatever it is, 50, 100, whatever it is, right? Then I think the Ford Field will then have something, because they'll be like, man, we got, or whatever, or they'll try and make something happen for them just because they're like, it's not worth our time to be going back and forth or whatever. But I think they'll try and make good. Nothing big from either side relatively for them. Maybe for me, you or me, maybe. Like 50 bands is huge for me. But for him, it'd be like, just to get this behind me, I did grab buddy, whatever. But also, I think it'll be interesting what DK's attorneys do, just to say, we did actually report this guy last year as well. So I don't know if they'll be like, hey, this was harassment, this and that, or whatever. So I'm interested to see how fast the settlement comes, because I think it'll be done out of court at this point. Trying to get some bread. But I want to see kind of like, does Ford Field be like, hey, man, like, yeah, he grabbed you, but this is the second incident of you in this player happening, or does Buddy get his money? Does Ford Field give him free season tickets or whatever? So I think it'll be kind of in the background a lot. You might have to look for it because it's going to get swept under the rug. But I think DK will have to pay some bread coming out of the pocket just because of the hands, and then obviously we got it on footage from not only the field but multiple people on the stands.
No, facts, bro. And like you said, I think, any time I'm thinking, defamation and you throwing out crazy numbers, it always in my head pops up as a money grab. I did not know that there was a similar incident you said that happened in the past with him.
I think they had like words at like a Seattle game when Seattle came and played them, and I'm assuming it would have been at Detroit as well. But I don't know how far he went into the stands, down in the stands, and he came over. But there was words exchanged, and dude was saying whatever. And they did say like last year there was some stuff that happened between them, and this wasn't his first run in with the guy. So once again, we're not giving DK the pass, but that explains more of why he went over there. This wasn't his first time, so now he's upset. But as the athlete, as the bank, right, you got to know this is a play, bro. And you fell right into the play.
Facts, man. So that's interesting. I did not know that. So, I mean, hell, and with stuff like that, and with settlements, a lot of people think that if you settle, it means, you're guilty or whatever. But like you said, a lot of times people settle just to get it done with, you know what I'm saying? So I think that'll ultimately end up what happening. And if his attorneys want to get creative, they could try to make him come down from the amount he offered, filing a countersuit for harassment. You can do a bunch of stuff. And, you see a lot of stuff like that. Well, we've had multiple run-ins, so we're going to file, a lawsuit for harassment or whatever the case against them. And so, it'll be, interesting to kind of see how it plays out, but I think with defamation for sure, I think that's a harder leg to stand on. And as an attorney, you kind of, you got to get creative with stuff like that, because number one thing I think of, so for like regular civilians like me and you, if we going after somebody for like defamation, it's a lot easier to prove. It's a lot easier of a standard to prove for like irregular folks like us. You know what I'm saying? But with like people, public figures or notoriety, and people who have kind of notoriety, it's actually harder to prove. So if an attorney could somehow get a judge to classify, and I don't know the guy's name who did the lawsuit, the CEO, as what they call a public figure, where that makes it harder for him to prove, because he has a lot more that he has to prove on his side being a public figure. Since he got, once he got slapped, he became a public figure because he was on national news outlets and national media coverage. Then it makes it harder for him to prove a defamation case, because you have to prove like actual malice in whatever the statement is, as opposed to if it's a regular civilian, you just have to prove like negligence. You know what I'm saying? So that's creative stuff that his attorneys, that I'm sure they're all looking into and stuff like that to kind of defend that lawsuit. But it's not as easy as people think. That
you can't just be like, this person is this, and now I sue you for $10 million.
Exactly.
Like, there has to show damages. It has to be proven that I was actually trying to hurt you in a way.
Yeah, so it's not as straightforward. Some people think, oh, you said something bad, I'm gonna just file a lawsuit. But no, it's like you said, like you have to prove what damage you lost. Like, did you have a different sales from the time of the incident happened until now? Or like, there's a lot of things that you have to prove in order to get there, that I think sometimes people just think, well, he said something bad, and so I'm gonna file a lawsuit for defamation against him. You know what I'm saying? So, so I think it's not as straightforward. I think it's gonna be probably a settlement, behind the scenes. But it's interesting nonetheless, especially now that there's another run-in that I had no idea.
So like I said, it's a whole thing. I think at the end of the day, just DK has to be smarter, because the biggest thing is, it wasn't like basketball, right, where they're on you, he's in the front row, and you can just turn on. You had to walk over there, like, just pull to LeBron, security, like, right, like that's something that you decided to do. You had plenty of steps to be like, let me turn around real quick. Even if he said the N-word, turn around, get security on that man. Like, you're the bank. He's doing this for a reason, and I think there's a fault of just being a terrible human being if that guy did say that, but there's fault for you also being a grown man and not walking away and even putting yourself in that position. And that's the thing where I think DK messed up is, hey, Let that dude do what he do. Get security, get him out of there. Now the dude's banned, right? But now he got his 15 minutes of fame. Now you're going to get 6 figures of your money, right? And then there's just so much more that you actually helped him with by grabbing him and making this a thing.
Yeah, nah, facts, man. It's always definitely a better way to handle the situation. But I think, not agreeing or saying that the way the situation played out was the right thing to do. But I think it more so kind of rationalizes with people that athletes are people too. You know
Yes,
what I'm saying?
100%.
And so you play ball, I play ball, so it's just one of those.
That
things
student section go crazy in college.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things that kind of gives y'all a little bit like athletes, like they got feelings and they deal with stuff too, and they can get out of character. And I think sometimes people look at us, not us, but like professional athletes in a bubble, like, oh, we can say and do and chastise them all we want, and they just supposed to just sit there and take it, which in a sense, you got to weigh the risk and the reward when you got that kind of money that's involved. But it kind of just goes to show like people, they deal with regular feelings and emotions just like the rest of us.
And before we get off, if you think about it, I think some of these athletes on the field and how they're portrayed in the media and just their attitude in general actually makes them targets for fans. Because think about it, DK has had issues like with teammates and just attitude stuff, right? Fan. Who else? Ron Artest. They throw the thing at him. Oh, he goes into the stand. Boom. Think about, remember the Marcus Smart situation at Oklahoma State. So I think fans really be like, who can I get at? Think about it. Draymond Green is always arguing with fans.
Yeah.
Because they know I can set you off.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? LeBron, they'll come at him just because he's LeBron. But there's some of these guys who aren't even the biggest name guys, but they get picked on by the fans the most because it's like, I can get a reaction out of this guy. Like when things ain't going his way with his teammates and his coaches. You know what I mean? Like another guy that would come to mind, and I don't know how much it would has happened, would be like a guy like AJ Brown, right? He would seem to be the easy target of like, I know his tick is gonna go boom, boom, and he's firing off. So some of these athletes got to realize they're only doing this because they know your temperament, right? They're picking on you because it's like the little brother that you kind of pick on because if you do anything, it's going to set them off. Don't fall for the trap. They're just trying to set you off, man.
Yeah. And that's part of, kind of conversation that we have, as agents, and attorneys with clients, it's just like, look, try, you're at a certain level, of status. And so kind of make sure you maintain as much money as you can and not jeopardize it, doing other things and stuff like that. So those are conversations that, as agents, we always have with our guys. And even from an attorney standpoint, we kind of have those talks with our clients as well. So, but like you said, it's just certain things where you got to just kind of weigh the risk and the reward and kind of, make better decisions that way,
Facts, man. No, I appreciate you for explaining some of that to us because a lot of people were wondering about like how this could go. Some people like, no, he ain't getting nothing. Some people like, yeah, he done. So I was like, well, let's get somebody on to talk about it and figure out, because I believe there's probably a middle ground where ain't going to be nothing huge, but it ain't going to be zero. There's going to be something just because let's just get this out of the way, get my name, because this then negatively affects DK Metcalf. As long as this dude keeps popping up in the thing and DK's in a lawsuit, that Head and Shoulders deal might not happen. This don't happen. It's because people like, we don't want to be involved in that while you're still in that. So it's better to get it out the way and keep pushing forward. So
for sure. And I think, like you said, you just got to try to, the longer something is ongoing, the more people are, talking about it and seeing it. So I think the quicker you can kind of get it resolved, you can get back to the, scheduled programming and stuff.
Man, facts, man. I appreciate you for jumping on, man. Make sure y'all know that my guy's a beast. Like I said, in that courtroom, like I said, he does NFL agent stuff as well, certified with it. I've worked with him. My clients have worked with him. So, like I said, y'all going to know this name, Felix Nebo. Trust me, he's doing a lot of great things. So make sure y'all stay tuned to see him rise through the ranks, like I said, not only in the courtroom, but also through the NFL as a certified agent, man. So I appreciate you again, and have a good day. I know you got some more work to do, man, and putting in that, like I said, that lawyer attorney side. I know you love to do that, but we're gonna keep pushing, man, and salute to you again.
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate you having me on, bro. Your family, everything. So when I got the opportunity to come on, kind of politic with you, man. I wanted to make sure I did it before anything else, bro. But nah, I appreciate you as well. Everybody out listen to the podcast. Follow my man. He's doing his thing, and we gonna continue building together, bro.
Man, I appreciate you. Have a good day, bro.
All right, man. You too.
Yep.